Greetings and welcome to this week's episode of the Pixel Crashers podcast, a podcast where we are going to spend probably at least an hour ranting about E3. I am Angelus de Mortiel, joined once again by somewhat GloriousKev.
Praise Lisa Sue! PC1! PC1 E3!
The sometimes Xaiphen up Xaiphen.
One each.
And of course, Lila Rose.
What up?
We're gonna throw out those military inside jokes.
Hold on. Sorry, I messed that up. The sometimes rosy Lila Rose.
Touche.
Can we get back to praising Lisa Sue?
No.
Praise Lisa.
Yeah, I'm with Mort on this one. No.
Praise
No.
Lisa!
As
pass.
per the norm, of course, because nothing works always perfectly right. It looks like the chat, of course, is not working right on the left. Don't worry, guys. We do occasionally see chat messages. Most of the time. Sometimes. Yes, obviously, we are going to be talking about the E3 conference a lot. Kev will be ranting and raving about how hyped he is for it. Mostly
Fallout
Lisa Sue.
76 got NPCs! It only took them a fucking year.
Sure, let's just, you know what, why procrastinate? Why procrastinate? Let's get into that. Let's just start.
Shout out to Fraud Howard!
So first of all, disclaimer time, guys. E3
Yeah.
is an investor conference.
It's a
Everything
fan
you
fest and
see
I
there,
won!
everything
I won.
you see there is almost certainly a lie. Why? Because it's meant to be a sizzle reel to attract investors, not to give consumers any sort of accurate measure of what to expect for games. That being
So,
said,
question. Did they have cake? Was the cake real?
no,
No, the cake is a lie.
the cake is a
Oh
lie.
god, the cake is a lie again!
The cake is
It's
always a
not
lie.
fair!
The cake
I
has
just
always been a lie.
I just got baited by Kev. He's a master at
did.
it. A masturbator.
You got baited
Kev is a
hard.
master at baiting people. Although, can we take a moment and to acknowledge that Kev...
I just want to take a disclaimer here. I do not masturbate for people. Maybe my wife.
shit.
Occasionally.
I just
ladies.
want to take a moment to acknowledge
I'm not
that
with the refill.
Kev got himself, for Father's Day, a brand new walker. This one has the tennis balls on the front legs so that it doesn't squeak when he's going across the ground.
Those are important.
Yeah.
They
I
are.
learned that from Xaifen how important they are.
Why do you think you only see me ever sitting?
I
I'm
thought
the
it was
only-
a dodge in the sunshine.
I'm the only person here that's healthy enough to be standing, apparently. Everybody else is so old that their knees gave out years ago.
You also have
Isn't
enough.
Rose the
room for-
youngest one here, though?
What?
I think Rose is the youngest one here.
Kids.
Oh, fucking whippersnappers.
Apparent whippersnappers. Kev is gonna get angry and start beating people with the cane.
Get off my lawn!
So,
Look, 25 is a perfect age to tell kids to get off my fucking lawn.
25? I was doing it like 22.
I
Those
was
bastards
telling
come
people
in
to get
hella
off their
long, live in an
lawn
apartment.
before
Fuck
it was
them.
cool. Kev is a hipster old man. So, in any case, we got
the grass.
a bunch of news. Now we have two specific pieces of news from E3. Well, sort of from and around E3 that we'll be talking about in depth in this podcast. But particularly, we're just going to start off by kind of generally going over some of the stuff that we're going in with E3. And first, I think at least most of us have had a chance to kind of see a lot of what's going on there. I know Xaiphen has seen none of the E3 coverage because he doesn't like video games. But-
Nope, never.
That explains a lot.
That's why I'm so all about that Smash Z.
Yes.
I just want to know.
I only
the
support vaporware.
Star Citizen, I hear, is still taking crowdfunding donations. You know, you just want to give
So
them
is
your life
Epic.
savings. You know,
Epic is taking all the
I
crowdfunding
didn't say
games.
financially support. I just said support.
You know,
Maybe
that will be
Xaifen
the...
doesn't buy games.
Hmm?
Xaifen only plays that one free-to-play game.
yes.
Just that one.
That
Although
one
I've
grindy one.
I've been consistently playing Vermintide too, honestly. I was on that just right before the podcast.
I can't talk because I haven't played much outside of Three Kingdoms since it's come out. I was like, Total War Three Kingdoms has basically consumed my life. It's ruining my marriage.
So I had a similar thing whenever Warhammer 2 came out, Total War Warhammer 2 came out. I also had a similar thing when I finally got around to getting Frostpunk. All of a sudden I lost like 3 days of my life and I don't know where they went. I can sympathize with that. Frostpunk is dangerous addicting, man, because that's like
it can be.
You get emotionally invested into that city. Like every time the temperature shifts, you're like, oh shit, I've got to do all these things and just one more thing and just one more thing and just one more thing. And then before you know it, you haven't eaten in 3 days and you're starting to faint. So
I did not get emotionally invested into that city. I was doing all the bad things. In Frostpunk, I was making the kids work. I was doing all it. I was like, we ain't burying nobody. We was doing all the fucked up shit. I got banned real quick.
So there was one of the times that I actually did the dictatorial route. There's one of the times I did the religious zealotry route, but whatever. The dictatorial route, yeah, I did that. I was like, you know what? Your bodies, you don't get to put them in a cemetery. They're going in the frost pile so that we can use their body parts later to help our medical needs. People didn't like that.
They wouldn't let me just put it in the furnace. That's what I wanted to do.
No. You make a frost pile, and you put them out. You more or less bury them in the snow so they stay frozen, and then you use them later for. It's pretty
surgery.
Dark. Yeah, there's not really.
No, I just wanted to throw them, but I just wanted to use them as fuel for the furnace.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I mean, the thing is that the thing that I enjoy about that game is that it doesn't matter what direction you go. It's not. You don't go a good route, no matter which discipline you go. Either you go discipline or religion. Discipline, you end up as a kind of like an atheist dictator, and religion, you end up as a cult leader. So it's pretty much like no matter which way you go, it's all bad. It's all bad. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's Frostpunk. That's not really an E3 thing. So
speaking of E3, can we give a shout out to the Pitbull at Ubisoft's conference? I want to pet it.
You know what I gotta say about the pit bull? He was breathtaking.
He was awesome. Him and the Japanese.
That's the sound of the mic dropping.
Conference.
I
forget her name. She did the game Tripwire.
Yeah. The chick that was like a physical personification of an anime character.
Yeah, and everybody loved her.
A lot of those.
Yeah, no, she literally was. She was like dancing like a kawaii up on stage. It was.
I can't dance.
Hold on, I've got to adjust my glasses properly. No, yeah, there we go. We go. Internal monologue for 5 minutes. You're just standing there, not talking. So yeah, so let's start with some highlights. Like, what was some great news? Now, let's take a moment. Yes, we can acknowledge the Pitbull, the chick from Tripwire, and Keanu Reeves definitely were awesome moments, socially speaking. That was great. But as far as news that came out of there, what were some highlights that you guys thought of from there? And we'll start
Game
with
Pass.
We'll get to you, Kev. We'll get to I know you got all the opinions. Let's start with Rose, though.
All of them.
Well, I really liked what I was seeing for whatchamacallit, Tales of Arise. That's been a series that I really love to play anyways, but it's of course more anime-ish, so I guess I'm not helping my case with the anime. And then there was, I mean, obviously Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah. As far as Tales of Arise, I love this website. By the way, there's this website, E3 Recap. Amazing resource for people like me that want to do this. So what did you like about Tales of Arise? What was something that caught your eye?
The graphics are a little bit more CGI-ish from what they showed. It's not just the anime style hand drawn that they've done previously. Tales of Berseria had it, Tales of Vesperia. Tales of Symphonia didn't really have it. They had more of like the Final Fantasy X look to it.
Yeah.
Totally.
But it seems like they're going back to the 3D models instead of the 2D anime style. Like,
do you think
shout
Final
out to
Fantasy
homegirl that pulled a sword out of her tits?
Yeah, right.
Really?
Do you think that Final Fantasy 15 has played a role into a lot of these game developers wanting to have a little bit more, not necessarily realistic, but like less hand drawn and more CGI style and more actiony combat?
no, I don't think so.
No?
We've seen a lot of games doing that. Final Fantasy 14, it's not hand drawn, it's more CGI looking. 13, haven't played 12, so I can't say 12. So I don't think it was just 15 influencing. I think there's a lot of influences from other Final Fantasies, but I also think that there's some games that I just can't think of right now that have been influencing it as well.
Mm-hmm. So, and Cyberpunk 2077 obviously was kind of that everybody knew going in that was going to be a crowd stealer in general. But
Yeah.
so what were some things from at least the E3 presentation that stood out to you as kind of highlights?
The trailer where they had the 3 different characters, I think they only showed 2, I can't remember. But they had, well, it's V or 5, I don't know.
V.
I didn't listen.
It's V.
Okay.
Yeah.
V for Vendetta. Okay, fun.
Yep.
But they had 3 different play styles for him going in, and I think they're going to have more, but it seems like that's really nice. They've got your more technical hacker based, your brawler, and your not stinker, sinker. Hold on.
Getting the word.
Sneaker.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to make sure my tongue worked right that time.
Yep.
And we've seen like fucking Mass Effect do that. Where you had like your biotic being like your magical hacker user, you had your soldier, which was your basic brawler, and then you had your tech dude as your
Hacker.
Well, aren't these kind of classic in general RPG stereotypes, right? I mean, you've got like your thief, ranger, barbarian. You tend to have a lot of those types repeating on there.
Yeah.
Now, that's pretty awesome.
Cyberpunk is a beautiful game.
Oh yeah. So Kev, what are some of your highlights from Cyberpunk, and then we'll get into your other games.
Cyberpunk. I just thought Cyberpunk was gorgeous. I haven't pre-ordered anything. I'm not pre-ordering anything. I still want to see more of the game. I think it's a pretty game. I think it's an interesting premise, but I haven't been completely sold on it yet, like we've talked about in the past.
Yep.
I want to see more of the moment-to-moment gameplay, and I probably won't be sold until like I see it on like Twitch or something, like somebody actually like playing it, and it's not pre-made gameplay from CD Projekt.
Yeah. Kev wants to know that he's not going to have to sit through 10 minutes of tutorial.
I didn't even catch what Xaiphen said. What?
I said you want to know that you're not going to have to sit through 10 minutes of tutorial.
Oh, don't get me started on long tutorials. I tried to play Battlefleet Gothica. The game crashed on me after 45 minutes, and none of the tutorial saved. I was still in the damn tutorial. Well, the game crashed.
So one of the pieces on there that that I did kind of enjoy that they're demonstrating with Cyberpunk is that it seems to be that they want to really kind of get into this idea of like, so this is my concern on here. They want to try to make it immersive, right? That's one of the things that they seem to have really a focus with, and I kind of like that idea. But at the same time, the in-house demo, allegedly from what I heard, the in-house demo as well as the 45 minutes of gameplay we saw before, I was concerned with the best I can say is the Division style gunplay, that bullet sponginess, which, I mean, I can buy it a little bit more in Cyberpunk because people have artificial bodies and stuff. Okay, I get that. But I shoot a motherfucker in the head. I don't expect to shoot him in the head 20 fucking times. I don't care how cyberized he is. His brain's dead. He's not going to be coming after me.
But he has an antimantium skull, so you can't shoot through it.
I'm sorry. I have a tough time buying that in a game when he has a fucking life bar and you see damage floating over it. I enjoy that for MMOs, but for a kind of immersive, kind of first-person visceral experience, seeing floating damage numbers and like that kind of MMO type feel, it kind of takes me out of it. Right.
Yeah, it does that for me for shooters in particular.
Like if you're
like I can do it in like say like The Witcher or like a game with like Dragon Age, something with swords and melee combat.
Yeah.
But yeah, something like with a shooter that really turns me off. Let me take him down in 4 bullets.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, in whether it's of fantasy or sci-fi or modern, is you've got either immersive with realistic life expectancy on whatever the weapon is. Like Vermintide 2, like you get some of those enemies, one hit with an axe, you're taking off an arm or a leg. Like, that's a bit immersive. You also have high health bars, and you do have some damage sponges in there. And if they have a nice balance between the types, like say to try and drag out a boss fight, I can understand that, and it might not break immersion too bad, depending on how they present it. If they present it properly, then it might be reasonable. That's my, I have a similar concern with more. If they're trying to make it immersive, then having that, throwing bullet sponges in there and having it feel extra RPG-like with health bars and all that stuff right up in your face, and like, okay, this is looking too much like I'm just staring at a screen as opposed to feeling like I'm in here.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that. Now, obviously, one of the key things on there is that now obviously you have Keanu Reeves apparently as plugging back into a cyber universe, because whoa, like he's Socrates or something.
You stole my joke.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I think it's
a long time ago, sir.
I got to present this one to the public. There was a friend of mine a long time ago. We were watching Johnny
breathtaking moment.
And he said, like, you know what? I bet they picked Keanu Reeves for The Matrix from, this movie. It's like, yeah, I'm sure of it. I'm pretty sure it wasn't from Bill and Ted. Like, pizza is like a Matrix, or The Matrix is like a pizza.
Like a pizza.
Toppings. Whoa, I could be Socrates or something.
Yeah, exactly. So what's a concern you guys have other than that?
I just need to see more.
Did they fuck up the Cyberpunk universe?
Yeah.
See, I don't know enough about the universe. I didn't even know what preconceived universe for today.
Yeah.
I never heard of the universe.
It's a concern, but I don't really, unless they just can't deal with sci-fi at all, I don't really think they're going to, considering how well they did with the Witcher storyline.
So here's my thing is that I obviously do want to see more. I do have some concerns of the, like I said, most of it's gameplay related. Now, to Black Cats over on YouTube, who said, I thought Cyberpunk had a choice of sex as lead, a little disappointing. I assume you mean you being able to pick the gender of the main character. Yeah, actually, you can. That's not actually a. In fact, there's a little bit more to it, where the actual gender choice is separate from the character's visual customizations, which is, I think, something Rose might have talked about a little bit much. We were going back and forth on whether or not to cover it, but Rose, if you want to talk about it, since you did a little bit more research into that.
So with V, you will be able to be male, female. Now, they're adding in the ability to be transgender. The extent of what they're going to do is still a bit of a mystery, but they are going to allow you to have any body type, so you can be more muscular, more masculine. You can be more feminine, and then they're also supposedly making it so voices are across the board, which means you can have a male voice as a female character, a female voice as a male character. What I'm kind of hoping they're going to do is they're going to have a dialogue option somewhere saying that I'm intersex, I'm this, I'm that, just something along those lines to add a little bit, well, not to add, but to
I would
give
say
you
in
more
passing
choices.
conversation, but not rubbing it in your face, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like maybe your best friend or something like that. Just to make it so you can be that character if you so want to be. As I said on Twitter, I don't play trans characters even though I'm trans myself.
Mm-hmm.
I play who I want to be, so I'm always that full-bodied woman, for lack of a better term. I'm playing as I want to be and not who I am.
Yeah. Which I think that's fair. And to be honest with you, I mean, I know tons of people that, play various different genders that's not necessarily always linked to who they are or who they identify as, but it's nice having options.
Oh yeah, like I never play as myself in RPGs. I create a character that I want to tell the story with. So, like for example, I played as a female character in Andromeda. Well, Mass Effect, I normally pick a female character first. Well, at the same time in Dragon Age, I always pick a male character.
Yeah.
So it kind of mostly depends on just how the story leans. I feel like the Mass Effect story leans a little better toward the female characters. I think especially with the trilogy
Mass Effect 1, Jennifer Hale's voice acting.
Yeah, but Jennifer Hale killed it, especially in the trilogy. That's why I didn't even want to bother with
Mark Meir did a good job
writer.
after 2, but Jennifer Hale knocked out of the park in 1.
I thought Jennifer Hale did a great job in all 3 games. I thought maybe she slacked a little bit in Mass Effect 3. I thought that was probably her worst performance of the 3.
There's a lot of people who slacked in Mass Effect 3.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't get your second, so he cut out.
So there's a lot of people that end up slacking in Mass Effect 3.
That's
why we get new endings.
Oh, that's new endings.
7 years later, people are still talking about the damn ending.
Yeah. So to Black Cats who asked, why did they not promote this? If there's a female character as clear, why did they not promote the actress? They just didn't promote it in this particular media coverage. So they did in the 45 minutes, if I remember correctly, the 45-minute gameplay did feature a female V. This one featured a male V. And it's just essentially they're showing both sides of it. And then, like I said, it appeared from the closed door demo that they did. That's where people were noticing that, I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, Rose, that was where people were noticing that gender was separate from the appearance options of the character. So you could have a masculine character that was listed as female. So,
well, it's not just that, it's what the devs have said, because they're still working on the character creation system, from what I understand. I'm actually going to do some self-promotion here. I'm actually going to be starting my own YouTube channel here shortly, and I was going to really cover this subject in depth. And you can probably expect a video out sometime this week. You can check my Twitter for it, because that's where I'm going to post news on it, or our Discord server.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine, and that's good on there. Something I would note on there, obviously some people immediately jump to it, and I don't want to get into politics too much. I just want to note on here that in a classical cyberpunk subgenre casing, the idea of kind of gender and that sort of thing tends to be pretty
fluid.
fluid, and the reason why is usually because the physical person has been reduced to merely an object and has no inherent worth. A good example of that was Altered Carbon, where literally bodies were just tools
or
and
Ghost in the Shell.
Or Ghost in the Shell,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, Ghost. There's been several examples of that, but the idea is that the physical body is an object and has no what's the word I'm looking for? No emotional worth. It has maybe financial worth. It's worth money, especially to corporations that want to exploit it.
It has very little bearing on the person and their personality.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's kind of goes with the underlying themes of the cyberpunk, or actually any punk genre, which is meant to show subversive culture. It's essentially what happens when your utopia goes wrong, right? So, yeah. And that's kind of what it's demonstrating on here. So it's not so much really political statement from CD Projekt Red. It's just a faithful demonstration of the cyberpunk. So that's where I'm kind of like, that makes perfect sense to me. I don't feel like that is a forced inclusion measure is what I'm going at. And that's why I think that it will feel good for characters as opposed to being a checkbox that they're fulfilling to meet their diversity quota.
Overwatch.
Yay!
Yeah. But let's not delve into too deep into that. Kev, what are some other highlights that you had from E3 outside of Cyberpunk?
Actually, a lot of the stuff from the Microsoft show. Just in their direction that they're moving with PC. I've tried the new Xbox app. I'm not crazy about it, only because you can't integrate non-Microsoft games. But I love what they're doing with Game Pass on PC. That's looking kind of awesome. You get all the games for $1 right now, and then they're gonna do $5 a month if you need like a huge library of games now. Fantastic. What else did they do? They did a lot of stuff. They're rolling out the Win32 games with traditional EXEs, so you can get into modding your games and things. I'm looking forward to that. They did Scarlet. I don't care so much about Scarlet. I'm interested in for the tech, but I'm not buying Scarlet.
The Scarlet was a placard board. That was an investor announcement. That was not a product announcement.
Oh no! Actually, I think it was kind of funny because they presented the X in the exact same way.
Yep.
But
yes,
it's like,
they did.
The X is the most powerful console in the world, and you're basically rendering it obsolete a year and a half later.
Yeah.
But hey, not my company, not my business. Doom. Oh, that was probably my game of the show. I loved the Doom. The little bit of Doom gameplay we saw.
Let's bring up Doom in here. Oops. There we go. Let's
Y'all know how much I love 2016 Doom.
Yeah, 2016 Doom had rave reviews. It was one of the it kind of was a surprise, to be frankly honest. A lot of people didn't expect. Surprised. Well, no, because wasn't it Doom 3D? Wasn't that the last one that bombed?
Doom 4 was the last one that bombed.
Yeah, that
one came out in 2004, I think.
Yeah, and
they messed it all up. They tried to make it into a horror game. It was the first modern looking Doom. The rest of them had the little side scrolling feel, and even Doom 3D on the N64 still
not side scrolling. It's always been a first person shooter.
Or I guess first person, but
yeah,
it never felt like a full 3D world where it's like that 2.5D in the original first 3 Doom games. Is what I'm getting at. And even Doom 64 was a little bit like that. But the reboot is awesome. The reboot was awesome. I even loved the multiplayer. I know how much people said they hated the multiplayer. I loved the multiplayer in the reboot. I don't know how I feel about the change they've done in multiplayer this time around, where it's which goes like the 2v1. I forget what the mode's called, or the type of multiplayer where it's not just traditional like TDM. It's usually like, hey, let's have like 2 of these monsters against one guy. I just can't think of what it's called. It's like evolved in kind of the same thing.
Asymmetrical multiplayer.
Asymmetric. Yeah. I don't. Those games don't jive with me. Yeah. But I was looking for just like traditional TDM. give me.
Asymmetric is one of those things.
Give me free for all.
Potential to be an interesting change-up. However, most games fumble it horribly.
Yeah, I've yet to see a really good
It's hard to balance it.
I mean, like there's some that I guess some people still enjoy, like 7 Days to Die or whatever, that some people seem to enjoy. But for the most part, there hasn't been really a hard seller of asymmetric multiplayer. I mean, like you even look at like the example of like probably the first example of it, Evolve. That was a disaster. And that was
a good asymmetric multiplayer would not be on player counts like 1v4 sort of thing. I think it should be even side matchup. What would be a better asymmetric layout would be on the gaming orientation, where you have one side is playing tower defense and the other side is playing fortress invasion.
So Gears Horde mode.
Pretty much.
Well, Gears Horde mode is in Gears 4, because the other ones kind of, but not as much.
Well, the people who are doing the fortress story, I mean, they don't have a horde at their disposal. They just have the mome selves, and you'd have respawning restrictions based on what side you're playing, whether you're on defense or offense. But that would be a good way to play out a asymmetric system.
The Battlefield, what's the mode in Rush and Battlefield.
I see. I'm way out of date on Battlefield. The last I played was Battlefield 4 demo, I think.
It was in BF3. That's where they first made Rush.
It was a demo, or not a demo. The beta was what I was playing, which I had very limited.
Oh, so you played the beta for 3 or 4?
I can't remember which. It was on PC. I'm going to say 4.
Okay. I thought we played 3 on 360 together. But yeah, no, Rush is basically like you are defending these points, and you have one team that's defense and the other team that's trying to rush and blow up these bomb points.
Yeah.
And basically the offensive team has so many tickets, so many deaths that they can blow up these points at. And then you have 3 sets of points.
Yeah.
Although Kev probably wouldn't have been as interested in this. One example that you weren't interested in, Siege had some asymmetric multiplayer, Rainbow Six Siege, and also Ghost Recon Phantoms also had asymmetric multiplayer in it too, but not quite as strong as Siege. If I remember.
So those aren't really asymmetric in the sense.
Well, I don't mean asymmetric as in the player counts.
But I mean, if we're talking asymmetric, the biggest. The combat
the whole point that it's like 2v1 and shit and like 4v1 or whatever.
So here's the thing. First of all, when you're talking about that, even Overwatch has that dynamic, attackers and defenders. Asymmetric though kind of denotes that one team has one specific advantage. Like for example, like say take Evolve. It's asymmetric. You have like I think it's a 5v1 asymmetric multiplayer. The one player has like some kind of significant advantages to balance out his strengths to the 5. Although that ends up being a super big challenge in the balancing, and that's part of the reason why games like Evolve have problems. Because Evolve, you either had a really shitty monster and the match was over super quick, or you had a really good monster and the game was boring for about 20 fucking minutes while he snuck around and leveled up, and then he came and wiped the hunters, and it was just pretty much a one or the other. You didn't have like really a fulfilling balanced match where both sides were even, and that's
that's why Evolve got boring. But shout out to the $120 DLC day one.
Right. Yeah, that was another reason why. That was another reason why it failed. But something I think about Doom is that I think the reason why Doom has such a great ability to sell, and the reason why it's a good game to announce, is because Doom doesn't require a lot, right?
Doom is simple.
It's simple. Yeah. Kill demons.
It's kill demons. Here's your gun. Go for it. I don't have to think about a bunch of complicated shit.
Have fun
it's
with
visceral,
the massacre.
It's gory. Yeah, exactly.
You know, like
here's some demons. Go have fun.
Yeah, like, and that's one of the things I do love about in general about the way that Doom kind of handles things. It doesn't try to be super deep in the storyline. I mean, the storyline's all right, but it doesn't try to get super deep and really delve into things. No, you're a fucking superhuman marine. You're shooting fucking demons.
Right. It's like Gears. Gears is kind of like that too, where it's simple. Grab your shotgun and blast shit.
Well, but that one they've been kind of getting the story more complicated, and I've heard some criticism over that.
The Gears 4 story is really trash. Even the Gears 3 story wasn't amazing. To me, the epitome of Gears' story was really the first one, or not the second one, Gears 2. The first one had an okay story, but I've never played Gears for the story. I played because I like to blow motherfuckers up with the Nasher. Give me some King of the Hill.
Yeah, absolutely. and to Katz's comment that the soundtrack was a major key in the enjoyment of Doom. Yes, absolutely. Obviously, that's kind of a quintessential part of Doom is heavy metal killing demons. Gears, I kind of feel like has a certain level of visceral enjoyment with that as well. I've never actually really got into the Doom thing. Into the Gears thing, just because, I don't know, it never really clicked with me, even from the first one. I had a fun moment playing Gears 1 way back in the day, and that was pretty much it. It never clicked with me, but I always
felt like Gears was a little more niche anyway. Like, even within the Xbox community, like, where the hardcore Gears heads are mostly at. I've never felt like Gears was like the staple like Halo was. The community there, I don't feel as strong as it is with, say, Forza. And this is just what I'm talking, just from general people talking to them. So I could be wrong. I'm not looking at any numbers, any scientific data. This is totally perception. That the strongest franchises from Microsoft were always Halo and Forza, and Gears is kind of that third guy there.
Yeah.
Not that Gears isn't amazing. I love Gears. So I'm excited for Gears 5.
So obviously, with mention of Halo, let's have a chat about that guy for a moment.
That trailer was so trash. Like I knew it was going to be a Scarlet release. I was okay with it being a Scarlet release, but now you're telling me, okay, the game isn't going to come out for at least another year, but this is the 33th in a row you showed it. Motherfucker, why?
Hey guys, I just want to throw it out there. I'm just going to call it Cortana won't be in this game.
Well, it's supposed to be a spiritual reboot, so Cortana's probably going to be there, and she's probably going to be evil.
She's not going to be there. I'm calling it.
How can she be in there when she's dead?
She's not.
No, she's not. Sorry. A lot of story missed.
Spoilers for people who didn't play Halo 4 or 5. Yeah, Cortana's not dead.
She's not dead. And she is not she is and obviously Xaiphen she's not sane. She's run rampant long time ago.
Well, I mean, we're kind of spoiling it. Yeah. Basically, Halo 4 is the progression of Cortana going insane, and then in Halo 5, she actually turns against Chief.
Yep.
See, I haven't played those games, but I'm already aware of the direction the Cortana was going. It was being foreshadowed as of Halo 1.
Yep, when she absorbed the information of the Halo ring and accelerated her knowledge gathering. Yeah,
she was making mistakes in Halo 1. It was already starting there. So they had a progression lined up for, even though they did not foresee it. They did not plan it. But they were already working that angle from the very first game.
Yeah, and I don't think people liked it because a lot of people just liked that, she was Master Chief's companion, his girl, if you will. So as much of a girl as Chief's gonna get. So it's like you see her and him fighting, it's like, oh my god, this is a domestic situation. Oh.
People get mad. Centric situation. No, the thing is that there was an the interesting situation between and I love the comment that she made. I think it was at the end of Halo 4 or Halo 5. Whenever she was end of Halo 3. Whenever she talked about, like, she made the comment of how Chief was supposed to be the human one, yet she had more emotion than he did, or something to that effect. And I was like, oh shit. Because the thing is that's one of the key points of that's always been that dynamic between them, is that he's pretty much like this a robot for many cases, but she's the one that physically is supposed to be the robot, but obviously has developed like kind of this strange feelings for Chief, who is otherwise, for lack of a better term, he's a complete sociopath. He has very little disregard except for the mission. But you kind of see that transformation in him after he loses her. And that's kind of where he's been going. And that's what one of the things that the trailer demonstrates is that whole, like, you know, essentially the first thing he does once he wakes up is he looks at the AI chip and you see AI not found. And that was kind of a, ouch, man. That's rough.
Yeah.
But
see,
I do
now
agree.
As we look at the trailer now, it's like, man, I just don't think this trailer was very good. I still want to see the fucking gameplay. That is one thing I'm going to heavily criticize about the Microsoft conference.
Yes.
There was no gameplay anywhere. How was Gears coming out this year? And the only gameplay we saw was for the new mode from IGN.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, did IGN pull an Epic and buy the exclusivity?
For which one?
For Gears 5.
No. Gears 5 is going to Steam.
No. I was making a joke about the gameplay.
Oh, okay.
My comment was about did they buy the gameplay exclusive rights?
Yeah. Because in many cases, it would kind of appear like that's another conversation. So, Xaiphen, you get a chance to comb through all of the things. Did you see anything that was of interest to you that you thought was a cool announcement from E3?
See, for a long time, I have not really looked at E3 for games. But I do look at E3. But I look at it more on the tech announcements. A lot of those interest me more. AMD has been clarifying some stuff that it's already really gone over pretty much, but it's just solidifying things, you know, confirming rumors, such and so forth, like the 16 core, you know, counterpart to the Ryzen 9, you know, that big beastie bad boy that's still under $1,000 for all that multitasking server grade power in your enthusiast PC because you've got too much money to spend, but don't want to spend it all on Intel and their security holes. Intel just, they don't know what the fuck is going on. They do not know what to do with themselves on some of this shit. I'm at a loss. Like, I don't know why this keeps sticking in my head, just because I want to see it work, even though I will never get one. The Smash Z, which they did very limited and narrow scope demonstration, very restricted, just to show that it can do 1080 at 60p if you do this specific low intensity scene of this specific game. But you know that these developers have smashed a Steam machine into a smartphone and then smashed that into a Steam controller. The idea of that interests me, and they have, you know, their E3 showcase is more or less, well, we've got a final hardware design, you know, this is what it is going to be. Now they just actually have to get into production and ship it to prove that they're not vaporware, because it has been so long in the running. Now, I understand a lot of these projects can be long in development, but they've been heavily promoting it the entire time that they've been running into hangups left and right. And I think that's, you know, part of the thing that's, you know, kicking them in the ass. And when they actually have a pretty decent showcase, people are like, yeah, how is this better than the last pretty decent showcase that you had?
It's not wrong. And I think that's something that the first grain of salt that you always have to consider when talking about E3 is that a lot of the stuff you see is not representative of the final product. That's one of the things that, you know, for example, Cyberpunk 2077. Yeah, what they showed looks pretty fucking badass. Even that 45-minute gameplay thing they showed last year looks amazing. But as we've been proven time and time again, way back with Aliens, Colonial Marines, even as recently as Anthem, what you see at E3 is not what gets launched.
No.
And that's something that I think a lot of people, you know, sometimes...
And that's why I tend to focus a little bit more on the techie stuff, because I can see the direction of potential. And like, if I see it from a bigger company, unless it's Google, because they like to abandon shit left and right.
Yep.
But, you know, with other companies, you know, a lot of the stuff they're demonstrating, and I can understand the direction they're going with it. And if it's a bigger company with big money behind it, and it's something that I think may be a great seller, not just because I like it, but I think maybe a great seller, you know, I can see that moving forward. If it's a smaller independent developer that's run into a lot of issues, like the team behind Smash Z, I think it's a great idea. I still have doubts on whether it's going to get off the ground. But Project X Cloud, I have very little doubts behind that, and I see the potential behind that one. That one interests me too. Again, will I get into it? Maybe not. What?
So did you get a chance to watch the full discussion of xCloud at E3?
No, I have not. I've been reading up on it prior to it, but their latest and greatest for their investor conference at E3. I have not kept up on that. I kind of glazed over that shit.
Well, so
I look at the tidbits on things here and there on E3 as a consumer point of view. I try not to get too heavily into it.
Well, yeah, from mine of it, it's more of a technological curiosity is what I tend to enjoy on there. So first of all, yeah, like E3 is an investor conference. Whenever people, including Kev, like to declare that some corporation or another won or lost E3, go look at their stock prices, and you'll notice that every one of those corporations' stocks went up after their E3 presentations. So no, none of them lost.
PC won. PC Master Race won.
Yeah. So in any case, though, yeah. So let's dig into a little bit into the xCloud and Stadia. Although Stadia was announced beforehand, and we've kind of discussed Stadia a lot, but xCloud was announced obviously, and they kind of didn't talk heavily about it, but they did have a demo of xCloud there, and obviously in the environment of E3 with perfect network conditions, obviously, yes, it seemed flawless. However, there's a few, like questions on there. One of the things I did think was cool that they announced in the press conference is that essentially it sounds like it's going to have a certain hint of Steam Link-like functionality where your Xbox console can act as the server for your xCloud. Which I thought was kind of interesting.
Am I the only one who's concerned when every time I see xCloud, I never actually see their fingers on the joysticks doing what's happening on the screen? Like, I saw like the chick at when they first showed it like a month ago, and her right thumb was like basically under the controller. And she's just flicking the left-hand side, and she's playing Forza, and the car's driving like it's just fine. Like, you can tell this is pre-rendered video.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's like a massive.
Wait. In a driving game, how much do you use the right stick?
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm still looking at the camera. I'm still still looking what's around me.
When I was granted, this was a very selective game playing Apex 6. Is that what the game it was? The free one on.
I think it's Apex.
I was playing that, and like I was messing around with the look view where you snap to the left, snap to the right, but for the most part, that took me out of the immersion of the game. And on my 1080p 60 hertz, I found that game to be more immersive than I expected. I kept trying to get my face closer to the screen so I could peer from the point of view of and I went from in dash view, not from behind the car. Traditionally, racing games, I would go from behind the car. This one, that was not good enough. It had to be from the dash.
That's one where you need the steering wheel.
Every once in a while, I'd flip to the side, but usually if I was like looking around or something like that, if I'd look in the rear view mirror that was static on the screen. But if I flipped to look out the side window, I was going to crash into something when I did that. Much like real life, if you turn your head straight to the side and you're going this way, that's not good when you're going 200 miles an hour. That's a way to turn the whole car sideways.
Well, so first of all, obviously, one of the things with xCloud is that we didn't hear any prices discussed specifically, right? That was definitely a kind of something I noted. Now, with Stadia, we already have a price announced from before E3.
We both know what the prices are both going to be. You're right, Kidney.
Yeah, right. No, my thing is that from the sound of it, it's going to be possibly, it's going to be possibly in that $15 Xbox Ultimate thing, the Game Pass to me, it would be smart if they did Game Pass and xCloud kind of rolled into one. But I mean, come on now, they did a lot of R&D into xCloud. That's going to have to be a cost that gets delivered down to the consumer, as much as that annoys me. So likely you're going to see probably a $20 yearly, or not $20, $20 or $15 a month subscription price for that, which is probably going to be, I think Stadia was $10 a month, right?
Stadia was around $60 a year, and I think this one is going to come up to what? No, was it? I thought it was $60 a year. Maybe it was 120.
So Xbox Live used to be $60 a year.
No, 60 now. It used to be 50.
Yeah, it was under PlayStation's. Now it's equal to PlayStation's.
Yes, but they also have their new Game Pass plus Xbox Live deal that's $15 a month. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, the yearly 60.
The ultimate, the Xbox Ultimate experience, whatever.
I'm surprised they didn't do an ultimate or a yearly plan for it too, because Xbox Live has a yearly subscription.
Well, I mean,
you can get Game Pass separately as a yearly subscription.
That may be, I don't know. They may be rolling Game Pass or XCloud into Game Pass, because you know, you look at subscription services. Granted, $15 is not a lot compared to some streaming services out there. It's more than looking at comparing it to video streaming services, which it is different but still similar enough to be comparable. It is cheaper than some, more expensive than others if you look at a $15 a year price.
$15 a month.
Microsoft, I would think, is intelligent enough to know that they are not just going to be competing. I would hope they're intelligent enough. They're not just going to be competing with Stadia or other game streaming services, but people's general subscription services. So if you're saying, "Oh yeah, you're gonna have to fork out $30 a month for this subscription service," where you're already forking out 15 for Netflix, and then another 6 or 7 for Hulu, and then things like that start.
Real quick, don't mean to interrupt you there, but I just did want to give a little shout out to Salty Jade. Thank you for rating us with your 19 viewers on there. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Nice.
But yes, it's always a concern with value proposition. That's always tricky when you're offering a new service, right? What can you charge that a customer will accept? And from the consumer point of view, is it worth it? And now, Derek Smart.
I don't believe that any of these services are worth it.
I do want to put out a clarification here, as I'm not parodying the anti-cord cutting propaganda. If you have to buy all of these streaming services to replace your cable or some bullshit like that, no. But there's a lot of people that do already have multiple subscriptions that they're paying for each month, and is it going to be worth them to tack on this extra one if it is the cost of all of what they're paying for bundled together? Do people want to double up the subscriptions they're already paying for just one extra service?
Right.
So that I would think the finance guys at Microsoft will want to try and keep this in mind while they're trying to recoup costs into R&D.
Yeah, and that's something that that's part of the consideration, and a lot of it is also, as Kev was saying, like, will a consumer find this worth it? And what I was saying is, Derek Smart and I, who's an kind of an industry veteran with indie development, kind of went on that the way he saw it was that Stadia was trying to present itself as a replacement for PC gaming, and that PC gamers weren't going to buy into the $10 a month plus, depending on what equipment you have, potentially $70 to $140 worth of equipment in order to have this new experience. And my counter to it was that so I don't think that they're targeting PC gamers, because this seems like a pretty accessible measure. Like, it seemed like they're more targeting console gamers. And that's what this article says here. This TechCrunch article seems to suggest that Stadia appears to be targeting the console audience, with that upwards of $140 price tag for the Chromecast Ultra and the controller, then the $10 a month optional subscription. To me, and when I say optional, I want to put a big asterisk on there. If you don't have the subscription, you have to buy games, most likely at full price. They haven't announced that they're going to do any kind of game sales like Steam, in which case you're probably paying $60 for games, which a lot of PC gamers and even consoles have started to follow along with having big sales on their games. The second piece on there is that it's 1080p at 60 frames per second when almost all, even the PS4 Pro upscaling or the Xbox One X upscaling is upscaling to 4K. So if you, and nowadays almost all TVs that you're buying are 4K, unless you buy a really tiny TV. So, right. And that's the maximum that Stadia is going to output. Now,
and there's no Stadia put output that you can get to 4K, but you gotta pay.
If you don't pay, I'm talking about if you're free. If you're a free customer, you're locked at 1080p 60 frames per second.
Oh yeah. And my thoughts are though is like, when does Stadia become worth it? Like, my son knocked at the door, so I might have missed this part. You were mentioning it being a replacement for PC gaming.
That was a claim that Derek Smart made, who's an indie games veteran.
Oh, I think that's kind of funny though, because I don't think that PC gamers are going to go for Stadia.
That was what he was saying, is that PC
like
gamers
1080p 60. Like, a lot of PC gamers are considering that low end now.
Well, the argument was that he was saying that Stadia was being targeted at PC gamers and they would never go for it. What I was saying is that it seems to me like it's more, and what this article also suggests is that it seems like they're being aimed more at the console market because it's more of an accessibility option. I actually think that it's even lower than the console market. It's wanting.
Yeah, I'd rather have a console.
Well, my thing is that a lot of people nowadays, there's at least a good portion of people that have Chromecast Ultras right now, so they have to pay $70, get a controller. Boom, they're ready to go. So that is an insanely approachable solution for a lot of people that already have a Chromecast Ultra. And then if you don't, okay, it's $140, and you have a slap together, very easily accessible, not complicated, and very space friendly gaming solution. So there's a lot of people out there, especially now. I don't think this is going to really hit anywhere in Japan very much, but as an example, in countries like Japan or Italy, which I've seen a lot of Italian apartments have very little space, and sometimes gaming consoles, even, especially not big PC rigs, are not really a good solution because they don't have the space for it. Whereas a Chromecast Ultra plugs into the back of your TV and it takes up no additional space. So
another thing to think about too is, like, say, traditionally, your digital content world where everything, almost all your games are downloaded. You get a AAA title and you have a internet connection that is just barely above minimum requirements for game streaming. How long is it going to take you before you can play that game that you just started the download on? How many hours will you have to wait versus the minutes or less to have it stream ready? And that's something that may be enticing for people too, that have
somebody tries to watch
barely
Netflix in the next room.
Enough internet connection for the game streaming. They'll be like, hey, I can start playing this game in a minute or two. Once that first layer buffering is done, as opposed to waiting 6 hours, 12 hours, whatever that range is, depending on the size of the game.
There's also
the people are going to buy into the lowest quality internet package that they can get and say, oh, well, I have enough to play these games now. And the next person in the next room is like, oh, well, I want to watch Netflix now. And that's going to be nothing but a headache, and people are going to hate this shit.
Well,
that's where my head goes. Will have a heads up on it. Not everyone, though.
So there's two pieces to this. So first of all, of course, one of the big things on there is that if you've watched YouTube at all, you kind of realize that there is a decent amount of capability for them to have a scaling based on your speed. They're not going to immediately say, oh, you can do 4K, so we're going to max out your internet connection.
Oh, no, not at all.
But
I'm saying, say you have just enough connection to do 1080p 60, because realistically, most people are buying. They don't really care about or understand why they need the fastest connection or even a faster connection. They're saying, hey, how much do I have to pay to do exactly what I need and nothing more?
Yeah, well, and the thing is too is that in America at least, like especially if you're in more rural areas, chances of you having an internet connection that can even handle game streaming at 1080p is slim to none. And that's not going to change anytime soon, as long as we have Egypt Pie leading the FCC. So
shout out to Eat Shit Pie.
Yeah. But the thing is that that in case this it pretty much is only aimed at a certain specific audience that are in metropolitan areas in first world countries, because frankly, you know, unless Elon Musk can get his satellite internet stuff up and running, which maybe he will, maybe he won't. The point is that as it is right now, it's a small demographic that it's being aimed at. And for that matter, it seems like it's even smaller demographic of not console gamers and not PC gamers. It's its own niche audience. Whereas I think that xCloud seems to be aiming itself as a almost like a PlayStation Play Anywhere. You remember like the PS Vita where you, and I don't know how well this worked because I never did this myself, but I remember like you're playing on your PlayStation console, grab your Vita and continue playing the game on your Vita.
I've done that works really well.
I've done a similar setup running the Steam Link beta through my phone and playing on that.
But what was that, Rose?
I've actually used the Vita when I had my PS4 to switch games over. Usually using the bathroom or moving out to the living room or some shit like that, you know. It plays really well if you've got the internet router or a router at home that can handle it.
Yeah,
and that's the trick.
And I think that's and that seems to be kind of a similar thing to what xCloud was at least partially advertising this is essentially and as you notice on there, they're playing essentially on a phone, right? They're not playing on a big screen like the Stadia is using. Now, I'm pretty confident Stadia is also going to have an Android app, so it's also going to be played on your phone as well. But in which case, the 1080p offering might be more attractive if you're playing on a small, tiny phone screen. Oh, yeah. Whatever. But
I'd say even see, can we get it down to 720p if you're playing on a phone screen?
Maybe. Who knows? But
I think you can get away with it.
The thing is that unless you have a good Wi-Fi connection, I can speak from fucking experience in knowing how cellular network communication happens. The jitter is too fucking high on a cellular connection for you to get a decent streaming experience. Jitter, by the way, is the measurement of bounce back ping between you and a internet connected object. For those who don't know the lingo I'm using. So essentially one of the things with cellular internet is that it has a decent amount of bandwidth and sometimes speed, but the prioritization is usually pretty damn heavy on specific packages.
But 5G, yo.
Yeah, 5G may.
How does it differ from, say, Wi-Fi? Because isn't Wi-Fi kind of like that? Device taking a turn, my device, your device, your device, your device, and it just circles in. Then
short range, low latency.
No, that's that. So essentially, you have TCP/IP protocol, which prioritizes packet traffic, right? You know, and I'm starting to get into Rose's wheelhouse here. But essentially, depending on what the package header says that the package is for, that's how the actual router will queue it to go out. So certain packages, certain packets that are getting sent are listed as high priority and they get shut off first. The difference is, though, I'm sorry, I misquoted before, the speed on cellular internet is usually pretty decent now, especially if you got strong 4G connection. The bandwidth, however, is not. So think of it kind of like a 2-lane high-speed freeway. There's a going like one way and the other way. There's not 2, 3, 4 lanes of traffic. So if one person is in that high-speed 2-lane freeway driving 30 miles under the speed limit, guess what? You don't get to fucking pass them. Everybody's there. And then all of the traffic gets backed up for miles. That is the problem with cellular internet, is the fact that it does not have a lot of bandwidth. That's the reason why they throttle people that are high data users, is because they're trying to essentially discourage you from using a lot of internet traffic because they don't want to spend the money to upgrade their own fucking infrastructure to have that kind of bandwidth. It's expensive.
Yeah.
They have to add stacks to all their towers, especially if it's in an area where it's semi-rural and there's like one tower covering an entire city, because the city's just that small. That happens a lot. So, yeah.
Whereas if you're dealing with your, I say premium. When I say premium home router, I mean like $100 or more premium.
Yeah.
Obviously, you get better with much higher end ones, but your home, router, premium home router, $100 or more. They make use of multiple lanes and multiple lanes on top of those to help boost that bandwidth. So when you're dealing with your internal network, that's fine. Then obviously your latest restriction is going to be interference within your home. Like you got a big house and single router, no mesh or anything else like that. Then you're going to start working on range and walls that could be a problem. Whether your frequency is an issue, and then obviously, last but not least, internet connection itself.
Yep.
And if that's the only one you got to worry about, if you've got a decent router, that's probably going to be the only one you need to worry about is your internet itself.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that whenever we're dealing, and this is something we talked about whenever we were talking about Google Stadia first getting announced a few months back. We actually discussed on the fact that outside of your home, chances are we're not going to see a whole lot of this really catch on until 5G becomes a standard, because a lot of the benefits of like xCloud or Stadia, that sort of thing, is taking the gaming out of the living room, taking the gaming out of the office if you're a PC gamer, and you don't have a Steam Link or something like that. The idea of getting it out of your house, giving you a console or PC grade gaming experience on your phone or on your AR headset in the future, whatever that happens to be, is not going to, or on your iPad, whatever it happens to be, is not really going to be a thing until 5G becomes a broadly deployed standard, which who knows when that's going to happen. And that's the difficulty that I think that xCloud and Google Stadia are going to face as far as a value proposition. To me, I've got a Steam Link. Xaiphen, I think, Kev, we all have Steam Links. We have a PC that's more than powerful enough. We don't need to pay $10 a month to be able to stream 4K, at least decent quality gaming to another TV in our house. We already got that set. We don't need that. So it's for people like us, consumers like us, it makes zero sense. If you have very little space, like you're in one of those really tiny Italian apartments and you've got a decent internet connection, but you don't have the room for a console or a PC, okay, I could see, grabbing a Chromecast Ultra and a Stadia controller and working that way. That would make sense to me, but that's going to be such a small demographic of consumers. I can't see how it would be profitable.
There's a certain small amount of PC demographics, the people who are gaming on potatoes, like gaming on just a laptop and barely squeaking by. And this,
I don't know about barely squeaking by. That's a huge portion of the Steam audience.
Yeah.
People are just on mommy's laptop.
Yeah. But you give them this sort of opportunity, it may pick up some of those people. Which I would otherwise classify as PC gamers. They may not be, gaming with playing games that require more powerful hardware, but they're still PC gamers. They're gaming on.
You're gaming on a PC. You're a PC gamer. That's all there is to it.
The first PC game I played, I think, was Path of Exile, because very low requirements.
Yep.
First PC game I played was Oregon Trail. So.
Well, let me go back to that.
I mean, but does that really count, Kev? That feels like that's cheating a little bit.
No, that is the first hardcore
that's the survival horror game that created the survival horror genre. Let's be honest here.
Survival horror for kids. My school taught me to murder.
That's a game that teaches you not to trash talk Terry, because you will die from dysentery.
Mm-hmm. Now who's gonna fix your wagon wheel?
Now I'm triggered, guys. Now I'm triggered. That's the truth of it. Now I feel. There we go. Sorry, I Finally got up the chat is broken. So
it's been broken all stream though.
Oh, it's been broken all stream. I was just trying to get a text thing up there to actually say that it's broken. So in any case, what do you guys think? Like, how do you guys think that that Microsoft might be able to better leverage it? Like, what would make xCloud valuable to you as consumers? What would be a way that they, or Stadia for that matter, what would be a way for them to make it valuable to you?
I think Stadia's DOA. Let's be real about that.
Okay. Well, that wasn't the question, Kev. How would it be valuable to you?
Man, it's gonna have to come close to my even a console level experience. Like, we're not even talking about my PC experience. Like, can you make xCloud or Stadia equal to my Xbox experience while I'm on the go? And I don't think we're there yet. Like, I don't want to see no lag. I don't want to see no latency. I just want it to, in Todd Howard's words, just work.
I have also another value proposition on there that would be more out of the four of us. This is going to be more valuable to Kev. You want to play brand new AAA game, full price, day one. You go through one of these a month. How much is that going to cost you? That's going to be over $700 a year.
Right.
Now, if you're paying $150 a year for a Project xCloud, that's a hell of a lot cheaper to burn through a brand new AAA title one a month.
And but you know that's not how I think. You know that's how.
I know that's not how you think, but there are plenty of gamers out there that want that day one, and they will pay at any cost, even if it's not beyond their affordability. And this would be enticing to them because they just want that quick gameplay experience. They want to go through the solo title, burn through it, and then move on to the next.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, yeah, and there's a lot of people out there. And no, I'm saying, like, I'm one of those people that just burn through games, but for me, experience is king. Like, I don't need long games. I need games that are great experiences, and I want to have a great experience while playing that game. And that's why I said what I said about Stadia. If the experience isn't there, if I can't get it even equal to what I get on an Xbox or a PlayStation, like now, I don't want it. Period.
The thing is
we're not even talking about the lost features or anything.
Here's a quick addendum on experience. The experience is, yes, the system. It's also the game itself. And this is an advantage of this, of you will not feel like you've wasted money on a game. Like, you start up a game, like, this game is trash. Don't touch it ever again. You technically did not spend a dime specifically on that game. Go right to the next one.
Yeah, there is Game Pass.
Game Pass eliminates that whole issue.
Yeah. The thing is, though, is that depending on what because Game Pass is $10 as well, I think, and they both in the end they're both offering a very similar,
Game Pass is $5 on PC.
$5 on PC, right. $10 on console. But since I said give me something at the bare minimum equal to what I would get on, say, an Xbox, I'm gonna run with the $10. If I can use the free, like, I believe they have the free xCloud account. You can use Game Pass, use it on your phone, use it on the go, 1080p 60. If I can get that, or even 1080p 30, I'll take 720p 30 because it's a small screen. So if I can get that streaming and it runs as well as it's going to run on local hardware, which I don't expect, which is why I think most of these streaming services are dead on arrival, I'm all game. But I think they're doing it too early. I don't think we're ready for this.
I can agree with
widespread.
That. I think it is too early, but I think, to be fair, these are the what do you call it? These are essentially the teeth cutting streaming services for games, right? Yeah. These are not the streaming services you want. You want the streaming service after this one.
What we want is what's going to be there in 10 years. But the problem is that it's going to end up like VR.
Hold on, Xaiphen, what were you saying?
When Netflix started out their streaming service, there's a lot of bugs.
Yeah,
there's a lot of problems with it. And I was there from when they first started streaming. I was jumping all over that shit, and it was hard to find fucking titles for it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was.
So every time you go to a title like this is only available on DVD, and now look at
I remember that.
Oh, I remember that.
Granted, as far as infrastructure goes, they're using AWS to make their infrastructure work. But you look at Google Stadia and Project xCloud, they're on two very powerful infrastructures.
Yeah, Azure and AWS, great platforms.
Down pat, that's not going to be a problem. Now we just.
I don't think it's going to be a problem on their end.
Yeah,
I'm back with what Moore was saying about the cellular infrastructure.
Yeah, fine tuning, compression, optimization, and latency.
And the thing is that I think as far as technology that is currently available, Azure and Google Cloud are pretty at least comparable at delivering a good consumer experience. If we talk enterprise experience, obviously Azure not blows Google Cloud out of the water. That's the reason why it is far and wide preferred by most enterprises over that, because Microsoft oftentimes offers a better deal than AWS does, but there's other technical limitations for legacy applications that AWS works with. I'm not going to get into that. That doesn't matter to consumers. Point is that I feel that if you're talking a 1080p stream, there's the likelihood that you may be able to have a free Google Stadia account. Maybe grab that $70 controller.
They're going to need that to be competitive.
And that may actually be something that works. The catch is, this is my concern, right? Because I agree with you that it is very likely that Stadia is not going to do well. It's such a niche audience. I think the audience is there that really could use this. I think it's a product they could use, but I feel it's small right now, and it's not offering a lot of appeal to people that already have consoles or that already have PCs. So I don't think it's going to do well. And again, like you said, the infrastructure not being there to back it for mobile use, I think will really make it difficult. In 10 years, once 5G is mainline, everybody's got 5G everywhere. Well,
we'll probably be like looking at 7G right at that point.
Nope. I guarantee you that 5G probably won't be deployed. It'll probably be in full deployment in most areas within 5 years. In 10 years, we would see full saturation.
Okay.
Just because
I think
5G is going to be a lot slower to put up than 4G.
Yeah, consider this, that 5G has really short range to it. It's got the range barely more than a freaking Wi-Fi router.
Actually, it's about the same.
Yeah, it's barely more. That's what I'm saying. The reason why it's more.
What price router are we talking about? A medium, a high? Or...
I'm talking about a professional grade router that has probably about 100 a Wi-Fi access point or a WAP for those of you that are in the enterprise know. That's about the range you're probably looking at. The thing is, you got to realize deploying that is time consuming. You're talking about deploying millions per city, much less.
See, 4G was actually easier to deploy than 3G because they needed less antennas out.
4G has longer range.
Penetration. Now the 5G, it's not just how much they need to deploy, but how much math they need to do to deploy it. Because they have to calculate obstacles, and 4G and 3G do not have that level of calculation.
Well, I know it has a shorter range, and this is just my ignorance. Is 5G going to be backward compatible, or are they going to need to make lightning towers and shit too?
So with network technologies, the way that cellular network infrastructure works, you don't have backward compatibility per se.
Okay. And I know nothing about cell technology.
Yeah. So with where you had backwards compatible technology is when you still had GSM versus CDMA as the two primary technologies used in the US. GSM was backwards compatible with 3G, 2G, 3G and 2G GSM and so on. But 4G LTE, the actual technology, is technically GSM. And so CDMA is largely going to start phasing out, and you're going to see that. The thing is CDMA was better than GSM as far as quality. Yeah, whatever.
It was more expensive to develop. That's why
it was more expensive.
This makes me worry about Stadia even more, because now you're thinking about how expensive it is and how time consuming this is going to be. and we know how Google will drop a project quick.
Well, and that's where I was getting. Yeah, that's my concern.
So Microsoft, they're already showing this. Hey, this is going to be a value add for Xbox console owners. You know they're going to spin this to PC players too. I mean, think about this. I can have an Xbox on the go in my phone with a little wireless or a little Xbox adapter on my phone for my controller, and I essentially have I have an Xbox Switch. We'll call it, for lack of a better term. And Microsoft, they have the audience there. They're going to keep making money into their games division. They can afford to wait. Google can't.
No. The thing is that Google
has a customer base that does not necessarily need to buy any additional hardware.
They have people that don't need to buy hardware. They're already telling you, hey, you don't need a new console. Like when the new games come out, it will work on your old console.
It'll work on your controller and it'll work on your phone. You all got phones, right?
Throw
that out there, man.
Oh,
couldn't help it.
Is this a bad April Fool's joke?
poor Blizzard guys that got thrown up on the stage. I still feel bad for them.
I don't.
That they were
paid for it.
That poor guy drew the short straw. Anyway, so yeah, I do have definite concerns about it. I like the idea of it, but again, like I said, this is not the streaming service you're looking for. You want the streaming service after that. And in order to get to that next streaming service, we need to cut our teeth on this one, or at least the corporations need to cut their teeth on it.
But
I probably won't be buying it.
Between our two available options right now, I see Microsoft running with it and, building it up to where it needs to be, and Google
we have four, though.
Cutting and running.
Yeah.
We have 4 options. We still have PlayStation now, and we still have Ubisoft.
Yeah. So
their streaming service too.
So wait, Ubisoft I don't think is doing a streaming service. They're just doing a subscription service. They're just doing essentially a Game Pass.
Oh, they made it sound like streaming.
No, not as far as I know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong on there. Feel free to Google it real quick.
Googling.
And double check. But I'm pretty certain it was more of a Game Pass type offering, that it was just a kind of a game rental, for lack of a better term. But yeah, so.
Yep. Ubisoft announced its own game streaming service, Uplay Plus.
Game streaming. I don't.
Because you can combine it with Stadia, because it works with Stadia. That's what made me.
Okay, I see.
And now people are questioning, well, do I have to buy Stadia also? And that hasn't been cleared up yet.
Yeah, that's a little weird. And I think that PlayStation will largely. It's going to work. I
still think that's what the deal's going about with Microsoft or with Sony.
Well, they're going to use Azure.
They're going to use Azure. They're going to beef up PlayStation now, but I think they're also going to start up their own music and streaming services too,
I would hope so.
Movie services too.
And we kind of discussed that.
It makes too much sense.
We discussed that last podcast. I think it would behoove them to leverage their strength as an entertainment company to leverage in their music, leverage in their movies, and their games all into one thing. To be frankly honest, and I know this is controversial and this will piss off a lot of PlayStation fanboys, I think that Sony should drop their hardware and move into just being a content conglomerate. Give us great games, give us great movies. Well,
they've got
movies are questionable.
That would be a great. They've got a lot of IP that'd be a great move from them, and it would shave off a lot of fucking costs.
Yeah,
I disagree. Yeah. Only because I believe that they should keep the PlayStation console around. It's not hurting anybody to have it there. It's just make it another appliance. Make it another appliance like they're doing with Xbox. It's like, hey, now we have some more options, and I'm always going to argue in the favor of choice.
Well, the thing is having the console there is fine, but you and I both agree on the fact that the exclusivity is the main thing that I'm getting. The reason why I want them to drop their console is because I just want them to focus on delivering games to everybody equally and not lock them to a fucking piece of hardware that is a piece of shit. Like,
I mean, hey, if you want to buy shitty hardware, that's on you.
Yeah, but what if you want to play great games that Sony has to offer? God of War, Spider-Man.
Oh, this is why I want them to fix PlayStation Now. I've gone on the record said many times.
Yeah.
I would subscribe to PlayStation Now if the service was actually good. It's still laggy as shit, even for like PS2 games. And if I could get access to all of the PlayStation 4 library. I think the biggest mistake Sony is ever made with PlayStation Now is not making the games downloadable on each platform.
Or cacheable, even. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a limited selection of PS4 games that you can download on your PS4 with PlayStation Now. I still think they should make like some sort of emulator shell. An emulator shell that you can play any of those games on, download them locally. If you're paying for the service, who cares? If you keep it in that shell, now you don't have to worry about EXEs. If you're really that worried about piracy.
Yep. But speaking of
lock it down and just let people play it.
Speaking of platform exclusivity, let's talk about Shenmue 3.
Shut up, Sweenburp.
So no, first of all, Shenmue 3 has been a train wreck of a development for years now. This is not
epic fails.
People being upset with shit that Shenmue 3 has done. That's not new. What was it, 3 years ago at E3 whenever the Kickstarter-backed Shenmue 3 announced that it was being published by PlayStation or by Sony or something like that?
Being published by Deep Silver.
Oh, Deep Silver, yeah. Like essentially it was
it got kickstarted, announced on PlayStation's E3 stage. Now
by the way, both
Deep Silver, they are rolling in dough.
Both
and the
Sony
like a damn
and Deep Silver.
Game.
Both Sony and Deep Silver are funding of this game, or like
and the shit still looks like a goddamn Dreamcast game,
right?
It's like they pocketed that shit.
Like,
I mean, it's Epic's money too. If you back this and you're mad about not getting a refund, hold your L.
So let me make my little rant on here. My little rant on here. For all the fucking YouTubers out there making videos about how this move, and people know from my previous rants that I am very much against Epic exclusivity, to be clear. But all you fucking YouTubers and personalities out there that want to talk about how the Shenmue bullshit is anti-consumer, shut the fuck up. Kickstarter backers are not consumers. Kickstarter backers are investors. The laws are very different. You want to talk about investor fraud? By all means, definitely do that. Do your fucking homework first. But for real, it's not anti-consumer. Backers are investors.
I get the feeling that this dev team, we'll see what happens on launch. But if they do pull this troll move on launch, they launch the game, it's shit. They declare bankruptcy that very same day. So the fucking investors get shit.
Yeah. And that's the thing. When you're an investor,
at that point, they're just being anti-corporation.
One of the things about being an investor is investing in anything, be it stocks, bonds, securities, whatever, you have a certain admission of risk. As a consumer, if you get lied to or not even lied to, let's just say the game is not
right now.
Huh?
I think we are.
Are we rolling into a Mortiel fallacy?
I think we are,
right
yeah.
Surprise, Mortiel fallacy.
Guys, change the title of the stream. It's not a Mortiel fallacy.
I didn't derail you too much, but like, if this is something you can make an entire video on, why not?
No, I'm not going to because because I'm a consumer advocate. I am not an investor advocate. I'm just letting you know this is not a consumer advocacy issue. It is not anti-consumer. This is anti-investor. And when you're an investor, there's a certain admission of risk that things might not turn out the way that you want. The catch is whether it is deliberately misleading. If it is deliberately misleading, you need to call the fucking SEC, the FTC, file complaints against these guys for deliberately misleading you. There are laws in place for that. But it is not a consumer issue. That's why I won't make a Mortiel fallacy on this, is because this is not a consumer issue. I focus on educating and helping consumers because they're the ones that largely get screwed. I'm sorry, but investors, they're not doing too bad. Like, they know how to play the game. They know that they're risking stuff. It is the rich person's gambling.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So, if you're a Kickstarter backer and you feel that you have been deliberately misled, you need to get a hold of the investor authorities in your country, whatever that governmental body is, and file a complaint against these guys for misleading you. get your money back, because I think they said that.
But no refunds in Japan.
I think that they have said that they're going to start giving like some sort of refunds or something or another. To be frankly honest, I don't know why they need the Kickstarter money anymore. I mean, they got money coming from Deep Silver, from Sony, from from Epic. I mean, they got money for days.
Epic exclusivity money is that's big money right there.
So to be fair, the money from Epic may have just been money to Deep Silver, because obviously Metro Exodus was also Deep Silver. So it may have been a bulk deal, kind of like what they did with Private Division.
So much they're in favor of the dev, but it's just the publisher, not the dev.
It's just the publisher. Yeah, that's a PR line from Tim Sweeney that he's pro developer, except he's working his developers to the bone while he's saying that. Oh. My thing is that essentially what I want to get at from you guys on here is that in what ways do you guys think that would entice you to actually go after a game? Not necessarily Shenmue 3, because obviously it's a niche fan base, let's be honest. Passionate, but niche fan base. For a Kickstarter game like Shenmue 3, what would actually make you interested in buying the game as a consumer, not backing it on Kickstarter? But what would entice you to buy it after this shitstorm and after seeing a game that doesn't really look that appealing?
I don't buy Dreamcast looking games in 2019.
The original Shenmue was impressive for its era. We've moved on past that. If the game has not progressed to modern levels, then it's not worth it. Now here's contrary to that, I can throw out, granted it has not had this level of investment, nowhere near. They've more than made up this money since then. But their initial investment, they were hanging on by a thread. They had fucking nothing. Digital Extremes. It was not Kickstarter, but it was, it was similar crowdfunded. Yeah, it was definitely crowdfunded. And I thoroughly, yes, I have a lot of boring moments with Warframe, but over the 4 years that I've played it, I've had an enjoyment of it consistently. And looking back, I would not have thought about it then. I picked it up because it was free to play. I was trying to grow my PC library, and that helped me out. And it was an okay game at the time. I think it's a pretty good game now. It does have its failings, and I'll be willing to admit those. I am not a fanboy of any type. I'm not going to say, "Oh, this is the be-all, end-all. You must play this game. This is the only game that exists." No,
I'll say that to Kev, just to troll.
Yeah, just to Kev. But I would.
Destiny Master Race.
I see this game, this game in its current state, looking back on it, if I knew where I was going to go with it, yeah, it would definitely been worth a $60 drop, easy.
Mm-hmm. So what about you, Rose? What would ever entice you to buy a... what would entice you to buy Star Citizen at launch?
Oh, shit.
I was going to say, you need to get me on Star Citizen, because that's the one that I've been following, but it's like nothing, because I'm not going to buy it.
As a project manager, Star Citizen is a demonstration, is a teaching example. I teach to new project managers of how not to manage a project.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's your catch, or here's your question. More importantly, is buy on launch. You do not say pre-order.
No, buy at launch.
No fucking way in pre-order. Buy on launch. Well, let's see how well it reviews. Let's see gameplay reviews. That's a good telltale right there. Where is it being distributed?
Have we seen actual
only through a store that I either don't have access to, or don't want to have access to? That's going to be a big killer right there on buying.
So
and
Shenmue
then of
3...
course, if it reviews like shit, that's going to be a killer on buying.
So
stop being a Steam fanboy and just buy it on Epic. Just buy it. Just give them their money.
So Shenmue 3 is launching November 19th of this year. Have we seen an actual legit gameplay demo? Because I've seen some cinematic demos. I haven't actually seen gameplay of this game yet.
Oh, I haven't. It looks like a Dreamcast game.
You have seen a gameplay demo?
I've seen some.
Well, just a little clips here and there. Can try and pull the best and the brightest of the game, versus an after launch gameplay review.
I'm just saying, if what I saw wasn't a gameplay demo, And damn it, they need to take a couple lessons from
I mean,
Ubisoft.
supposedly it looks like it's cutscenes, and yeah, you're 100% right. This shit, the graphics are
Dreamcast.
It is
Looks
amazing.
like a straight up Dreamcast game with good lighting.
Yeah, it does not have any gameplay demo.
But that's not even a retro
the
style.
Fact that it still looks this bad,
unevolved.
But the fact that it still looks this bad, hit up Ubisoft. Lie to me a little bit.
See, the game like this is you're an indie dev. You're throwing out a game for cheap. You're using an old Unreal Engine.
You know what?
Because you didn't have to pay licensing fees.
I just want to throw this out there. I mean, it does look like, at least in these cutscenes, the motion is more fluid. But one thing I'll note is, if I want to play Shenmue 3, I think I would have a better experience going and playing Jade Empire. If I want a martial arts focused game. Absolutely. Jade
Yakuza.
Empire.
Or Yakuza. Every time I've seen this game, I just see shades of Yakuza.
But Yakuza is better.
I'd rather play Yakuza. And and at least we know Sega's not out here robbing people. Getting Kickstarters, then taking Epic's money, taking Sony and Deep Silver's money. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, these Shenmue devs, they're out here pimping everybody. And I want to learn about their hustle. I want to be your Padawan, okay?
Yeah,
you show me how to hustle.
The thing is, there's something to be said for art decisions. Like, if you want to have a unique art style, like, for example, like I don't know what it is. Every time I see anything Ori, I get misty. Like, something about the way they do their art style just hits me. If you want to
talk about art style, let's talk about Persona. Let's talk about Persona 5. Let's talk about Ori. Let's talk about Celeste. Let's talk about Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. You can have some old looking games. Let's talk about Sonic Mania. You can have some games that look old.
How about My Friend is Pedro?
True to the shit, still look,
My Friend is Pedro. I was going on about that game earlier. That game looks just fucking hilarious.
Yeah, and that game was fun. That game was fun as hell. But you could tell they're going for a style. This game just looks like we're just using the same shit we used on the Dreamcast.
Yeah,
we gave it some nicer lighting, gave you some nicer models, and you're just gonna go enjoy it. This game is not evolved.
They're probably playing that game in a Dreamcast emulator.
I wish they had an actual Dreamcast. Let's take a moment to acknowledge the fact that the Dreamcast
is in the closet right there.
The Dreamcast is one of the best consoles ever made. Fight me.
It was literally the predecessor to the Xbox 360. Like, after I got my 360, I'm like, this is just a fucking Dreamcast.
Right? The original Xbox. I got the original Xbox. I won.
I didn't have the original Xbox. I skipped the original Xbox. I was all about my Dreamcast and my PS2, and I had a GameCube for a little while.
I would have never gotten an Xbox had I not won one in like some silly raffle like a month after it released. And I would have never gotten it otherwise. But the thing is that I had played a lot of Dreamcast before that, and I was like, this is just like a fucking Dreamcast. Like, the controller even had like a similar stick layout.
I'm glad that you were wowed, because for me, the only reason I got an Xbox, I wanted to play the original Mass Effect, and I was offended at that PS3 price, because I was waiting for the PS3. I was like, I can't afford $600 for a goddamn console. Not at that time.
The story
I was like 21 years old. Screw that.
The story was, and I think we've told this many times on the podcast, Xaiphen had his PS2 and I had my Xbox, and we actually would swap them back and forth so that we could, we are literally the quintessential examples of a Microsoft fanboy and a Sony fanboy, and we would fight over which no, I'm kidding, we didn't fight, we just trade them so that we could play the other one's games.
We would hold the consoles by the controllers and swing them around. His would go flying because of the disconnectable cable.
I would use that. Well, and that original Duke was like 20 fucking pounds, so that's like a mace. That's like a mace. You would do some damage with that thing.
The OG Xbox was fucking heavy too.
Jesus, yeah, it was. That thing was a monster.
That bitch portable.
Yeah, I know. I remember that. Yep, and you had the totally legitimately modded by not a shady dude at all version of the Xbox there. It was very safely, and everything was legal. Nothing illegal was done. It's
your hardware. It's legal now. You do what the hell you want with
it.
It's not Japan.
It was legal where it was done.
Exactly.
When you're in a third world country, the black market is the domestic market.
Yeah.
Why gotta be the black market though?
Oh. Well, we didn't say the.
All right, that's
anyway.
it. Wrap it up.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Let's not delve on that topic
because all the other markets cracked and black don't crack.
Oh, there we go.
Facts.
There we go. But no, in any case, the the thing is that with Dreamcast, it was great for its time. In fact, I felt like it sadly just didn't really get its moment to shine. But yeah, this game doesn't really. I look like I'm stepping back into the past. Like I might even give it as much as original Xbox, as far as like its step up in graphics. I feel like I'm looking at an original
Maybe
Xbox
they're trying
game.
to get those nostalgia gamers.
That's exactly what they're doing. That's this whole project.
New Atari that's going to be coming out.
But the nostalgia gamers are playing on Switch still.
The entire project is entirely milking the Shenmue fans, who are nostalgic fans.
Yeah, I mean, true.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. This is entirely, and that's the reason why they're still using the dated art style, is because they don't want to shun those. Heaven forbid they shun those guys, that are wanting something that's not modern day. I don't know. I guess my last question on this is that, do you think that, and I'm going to extend this not just to Shenmue, but to Star Citizen as well, to these games that have questionable crowdfunding practices, and the truth is that there's not a lot of legal precedent for there's getting more and more legal precedent on crowdfunding, but there's not necessarily set investor precedents for how crowdfunding can be, like, recourse can be established. It's pretty much you got to sue them and win in court.
Refund in Japan.
What do you think would be the best route to insert some sort of like ethical repercussions to developers that have these Kickstarters and then kind of disregard their backers in order to make decisions that their backers did not agree to?
Stop funding games if you don't want to get fucked over.
I mean, to be fair, there's been Kickstarter-backed games, or I should say just crowd-funded games, that have been everything and more that their consumers asked for. Divinity Original
Stardew.
And
Pillars. So wasn't Celeste like that too?
I think Celeste was crowdfunded too. And those games exceeded what their consumers wanted, or their backers. Sorry, not consumers, their investors. Their backer exceeded all the expectations of their backers. So there are good stories out there. I feel like that telling people not to invest might be, because I think it is a good way for people to back games, and it reduces the reliance on AAA publishers who are going to make you insert in loot boxes and season passes and, like all the shitty shit that we don't want to deal with. So what's a way that we can have some kind of protection to consumers, or to backers, but at the same time allowing developers that option to crowdfund? That's a hard question, right? Look at that silence, guys. I silenced the entire podcast.
It's because there really aren't a lot of answers to that question. It's like the real answer is if you don't want to get fucked, stop buying into early access, stop buying into crowdfunding. It's like, I'm sorry, you know the risks when you buy into this. You can't then turn around and get mad at the developer when you know that, hey, nothing is set in stone. This is what I am promising, and I may or may not do it. The game might not even come out.
Still, though, has a little bit of a consumer styling to it, where like, what game was that? The Ghost in the Shell game. that was not Ghost in the Shell, but had the name of it.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I bought into the early
PvP.
access of that, and it didn't fucking work. But I got a refund.
Yep.
You don't get that for investments.
So there's a difference, I think, between like buying an early access game on Steam and buying into backing a Kickstarter. There's a significant difference.
I'm with you that there's a difference, but what I'm saying is, as consumers, we need to stop paying into both. And I say that as somebody who loves Killing Floor 2. And Killing Floor 2 was early access. I bought it in early access. I also bought Ark Survival in early access. And
ouch.
Yeah.
That hurts.
Yeah. And that's kind of my point. Like, Ark Survival still runs like shit.
Yeah.
You know, I feel bad for the people who backed DayZ. Like, DayZ took like 7 years to come out, and the game still runs like ass.
It's still, yeah.
They just said, fuck it.
Yeah, pretty much. They released the DLC. Wasn't it DayZ? No, it was Ark.
No,
Ark released
Ark.
the DLC before it was launched. I'm like, come on. You got
that's why I'm like, I'm done with early access. It's like, actually, and even with Killing Floor, it took other people I knew that were already playing it in early access telling me how good it was to say, okay, I'm gonna buy into this. People that I trust that are saying they love this game in its early access form. And now these guys at Tripwire, they've earned my trust. I might buy into their net if they do Killing Floor 3 and they need to do early access, because I love Killing Floor 2.
Yeah.
And because they did it right. Larian Studios, if they come out and say, hey, we need to kickstart Baldur's Gate 3, I'm on that.
Can we take a moment to just acknowledge there is not a more perfect fucking match for making Baldur's Gate 3 than Larian Studios. Like, if I would have said a dream
team... I still
think
think Obsidian would have done a good job too, but I think the two of them are interchangeable.
When I compared Deadfire versus Divinity Original Sin 2, I'm feeling like Obsidian is starting to kind of slip in their prestige, right? Mm-hmm. From where they were with Fallout New Vegas versus Deadfire.
They're not where they were with Fallout New Vegas anymore. But I still feel like, I guess with Pillars, Deadfire, and the original, I still see greatness there. But I haven't played two, or even like the the first South Park game that they developed. Well, co-developed that one that was in development hell for all those years. Yeah, Stick of Truth. Yeah, it's like so I still there's still quality there. Like these guys are still.
I'm not saying that they're
games.
A bad game.
Tyranny was a great game.
Tyranny, yeah. And the thing is that I'm not saying that those are bad games. I'm just saying that Larian set such a high fucking bar. It is hard to compete with that.
Well, let's keep it 100 though. There's like 3 kings of RPGs right now, and I would say that's probably Obsidian, Larian, and CD Projekt.
Yep.
And I want to throw Atlas up there. I really want to put Atlas up there.
Where did Xaiphen go?
You have to understand there's light and there's Xaiphen. He can just blend into the light.
Sorry, I was just like watching and then boop, gone. And I'm like, the fuck just happened? Anyway,
he just reflects off the light and disappears.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But no, in any case, where I was going with that is that, so one of the things that Larian Studios is a champion of, and one of the things they demonstrated with such perfection now, like I said, Divinity Original Sin 2 is not a perfect game, but one of the things it did so well was it illustrated how you can do player agency in a game. And that wasn't perfect. Like, if you want player agency done right, tabletop is always going to be your way to go. Play D&D or play Vampire the Masquerade or play, one of these pen and paper RPGs. That's where you're going to get the real experience of player agency, because you can do whatever you want. It may have dire consequences for you, but you can do whatever you want. But as far as a video game goes, they have been one of the, Divinity Original Sin 2 is one of the few games that I can say came damn close to really showing how to do player agency right. And then, if you really want to get in there, you go into the DM mode on Divinity Original Sin 2, and then you literally have a tabletop-like experience in a fucking video game. And that is, the value of that can't be understated. And I agree that's going to be not the main body of video game players, but I feel like that value, like that audience is growing. Shout out to Critical Role. It's largely their fault. Matt Mercer and his staff at was it Nerdist? I can't remember. Geek and Sundry. At Geek and Sundry have largely created this new audience of D&D fans, which is why Baldur's Gate was such a great idea to come out with now that you have this resurgence of D&D fans and this broadening. You get like actors like Vin Diesel and Terry Crews and Stephen Colbert sitting down with Matt Mercer to play D&D. Like, what a fucking time to be alive. Can we just take a moment
to acknowledge how awesome these actors are too, especially Terry Crews. I love Terry Crews.
Oh yeah, Terry Crews, and like I said, and Vin Diesel is a huge D&D nerd, like massive.
Yeah.
Vin Diesel's awesome too. I love him.
Yeah, like now it wasn't necessarily the best movie, but that was it the Witch Hunter or something like Last Witch Hunter, I think is what it was. Was literally a movie that he produced and got made based upon a D&D character he had.
Like, can we get Jessica Alba in here too? I know she wants to play some D&D. Come on, invite Jessica Alba.
Yeah, right.
She ain't doing nothing. But she ain't doing nothing. Let's get her playing some D&D.
My point is that with that resurgence of D&D into like the popular conversation, like great time to announce Baldur's Gate 3. For that matter, Larian Studios being with their way of making a game and kind of illustrating, and then they've said they want agency to be a major part of the experience. I'm like, I'm done. Like, not pre-ordering it. I'm gonna wait for reviews. I'm gonna purchase it after launch, just like every game. But that game is at the top. There's 3 games right now. 2012. Fucking hell, and Xaiphen. God damn it.
The face made it.
For those of you listening to the podcast, not watching,
no one had to teleport out of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you listening to the podcast audio on one of our audio sources, you of course miss some of the joy of watching the video stream of this. I highly recommend tuning into us live when we're doing the video. But
we're catching the VOD.
Xaiphen, yeah, or catch the VOD. Xaiphen decided that he was going to pop back into existence with the creepiest look on his face imaginable, and like you can't keep a straight conversation going and have these intellectual points going off, and you just see like boop, creepy face.
You know what?
See, Harry Crews would have done it. I was actually saved from this because I watch, like, I have my 3 displays going. I have the Discord going on my right monitor. But my primary display I'm watching is the Twitch stream.
Yeah,
I gotta tell you,
so I didn't actually see it until like moments later, and the joke was gone.
He would have done it.
Anyway, so my thing is that great pair up. I'm excited for this game. I'm excited for, as I found out, I was mistaken, by the way. I thought Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines was going to be an Epic timed exclusive.
Oh no, it's on GOG.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. So, yes, super excited.
Yeah. They put it out on everywhere.
Yeah, so super excited. Happy that's not the case.
Yeah. Paradox don't play that shit.
Yeah, so you've got Bloodlines 2, Baldur's Gate 3, and Cyberpunk 2077. 2020. No love for
the Avengers? The Avengers look good.
It's a fucking episodic bullshit, man. Fuck that.
I'll wait till all the others are
that
out.
Avengers game. Sorry, fuck that game. Fuck those episodic bullshit.
Star Wars game. Fuck Star Wars. That Star Wars game looked trash. Fuck that whole EA conference was a waste of time. I woke up for that shit.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
For that shit.
Yeah, that was a third. That was what did I call it? An outpace game. Outpace. That's OWTPASE. Open world.
TRASH game.
No, it's a open world third person action adventure with stealth elements game. Fucking typical AAA cash grab off of a franchise bullshit. You know it's launching this fall to coincide with the fucking launch of the next Star Wars movie. I don't fucking care about that shit anymore. I haven't cared about that since the fucking
Middle-earth Shadow of Star Wars.
Yeah, no, not even before that.
Elements. So Titanfall and Assassin's Creed elements.
Do you guys remember when they used to launch the movie tie-in fucking Pirates of the Caribbean games? that were
I
garbage.
remember I played The Lion King and Aladdin on the Genesis, and they were amazing.
No, those were actually that was when they did it right. I'm talking about
even The Little Mermaid. My cousin had The Little Mermaid. She loved that shit.
I'm talking about it was a tie-in.
Yeah,
like a Matrix game.
Yeah, that one that one actually was a little bit interesting. But
there were some good ones out there. I heard the Spider-Man ones for the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans. I heard those ones were actually really good.
The ones that I played were the Pirates of the Caribbean one, and those were just so shallow. So they were just clearly cash grabbing based on the movies that were coming out. And let's be fucking honest, that's exactly what Fallen Order is. It wants your money from all you Star Wars fans that are like, Star Wars everything, yay! Guess what? Disney just wants to fucking reach in your pocket while they're pulling down your pants and bending you over.
You want a good tie-in game? Granted,
and they're not taking you out to dinner first.
Oh, hold on, Xaiphen. What?
Escape from Butcher Bay.
That was fucking amazing. I love that game. That was such a great game.
But the story tie-in was incredible. Yes.
The storytelling in that game, the way they did it was amazing. It was, but my thing is it was a game. It was a game tie-in. Like it came out, if I remember, after they had already released.
It came out after Chronicles of Riddick, but the storyline takes place before Pitch Black.
Yeah, exactly. It was a kind of backstory game. It was very well done. It fit perfectly. It was a great game. But
it was planned. It was planned that way though, and Vin Diesel was a big part of that planning.
Yeah, because he's a fucking
about D&D nerds. He had that campaign well planned ahead.
Yeah, but my thing is that I hate to say it, I love Star Wars. Like I especially love the old Republic universe. Like people hear me rant about that all the time. Mm-hmm. But one thing I have to tell all the fucking Star Wars fans out there, Disney is fucking you in the ass.
And they're not taking you out to dinner first. They're gonna go raw. They're not gonna use Vaseline.
You gotta stop just buying whatever happens to be of your favorite brand. And this is not just Star Wars. Any fucking franchise, any IP.
I was watching this video on YouTube that I think displays this purposely. Shout out to the good old gamer. And he was talking about this in a video he put out where he said people are just basically just brand loyal. And it doesn't matter what it is. Yep. People treat the things they like fucking sports teams.
Yeah.
Oh, I like Apple. I'm pro Apple and I buy everything Apple. I buy everything Star Wars. All my TVs are Sony or Samsung or whatever. All my shit's Galaxy and Xbox and whatever else. I only drive Chevy.
I actually
that shit needs to stop.
I actually did a Mortiel fallacy in 2017, I want to say, it was talking about commodity self, where people are emotionally tied to the things they buy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of unfortunate. Now, I think with Star Wars, it's not necessarily the things they buy, it's more of there's this kind of in-group, and it's been around for, decades, right? It's been around since the 70s, 80s, right?
The in-groups are like the in-groups you're talking about. That's ingrained in us as kids. Think about it, like even elementary schools, you have the rich kids and the poor kids. You in high school, you had the jocks, and then you had the nerds, and you had.
Well, I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about these there were social kind of groups. It's kind of like like I said, you had the Star Wars and the Star Trek fans, right?
Yeah.
These niche IP based in groups. And I'm one of those ones that I'm like, hey, I like Star Trek and I like Star Wars. Different reasons. They're two different genres.
I like both.
Yeah. I don't like The Last Jedi. I'm not going to apologize for that.
No.
That was a garbage movie on multiple levels. In fact, all these new cash grab. I see these new
one that was okay, and that was the one where everybody died.
Rogue One. Rogue One was great.
Rogue One was great.
The last satisfying Star Wars movie I saw was Episode 3.
I did not care for Solo at all. Solo butchered his backstory.
Yeah.
But Rogue One was good, and that was the only Disney-owned Star Wars that I feel was actually worth the shit.
Yeah, and Rogue One was amazing because they spent knowing that these characters. Sorry, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen Rogue One. First,
that's me.
Pause this video, go watch that movie. then come back.
I can't pause this. It's live.
All right, Kev, you're about to have it spoiled.
A New Hope.
You've seen A New Hope. You know how Rogue One ends. Congratulations, you've seen the ending to Rogue One. Because
that's why I haven't watched Rogue One.
you have literally seen the ending of it. Okay. But no, here's the thing: first of all, number one, best moment of the movie, watching Darth Vader be Darth Vader and wreck shit. That was fucking. Oh, I have not seen a movie accurately depict the menace of Darth Vader properly. And this movie did that. He walks in that fucking hallway with murder on his mask. Can't see his eyes, so you can't say murder in his eyes. And he just fucking tears through these soldiers, firing at him like he's on a mission. And I'm like, that's the Darth Vader I've wanted to see since 1970.
You know what's funny?
You were around in 1970?
People that made fun of modern James Earl Jones voicing that. It obviously sounds aged, but here's the funny thing: is it added to the emotion of that character in that situation. Honestly, yes. I feel it did. It made him feel angrier.
Yeah, and but the thing is though is that was great in that movie. But the other thing too that I really liked is knowing that all of these characters could die. It almost felt like they didn't feel the need to hold back the character development, to like piecemeal out any character development because they knew there would be more movies coming along later. No, it's pretty much lay all the cards on the table, fuck it, because these characters are disposable. And I was like, that actually was kind of great. And I feel like that unfortunately that was something that Disney is too big on first of all merchandising their properties. Like all the fucking cute little animals, like the porgs that they put in the new Star Wars. Guess what? You know why they put that in there? So they can sell fucking merchandise. Merchandising.
Spaceballs
the flamethrower.
We got Star Wars the toilet paper. We got
I'm kind of salty about the way people merchandise things.
Prep yourself when you get fucked.
See, the merchandising is kind of a sore wound for me still, because I was thinking about the Thundercats, the one they re-put out in the reboot in 2011, and they canceled it because Cartoon Network thought they could merchandise better with another show, and that hurts still, because I loved that series. The 2011 Thundercats was amazing. I'm just throwing that out there. I think it was actually a better show.
Thundercats prior to the age of 4. And then at the age of like 16, 17, I managed to run into it and tried to watch it again. I'm like, even as a 4-year-old, why the fuck did I like this?
No, the great one.
The original Thundercats was straight cheese. I'm not even gonna lie.
You guys want a good laugh? Go back and watch the original Power Rangers.
I did. I watched it with my son.
At that time, I understood how bad it was, but Thundercats, when I was watching that,
Thundercats is worse.
I didn't understand how bad it was. I thought it was good when I was a 4-year-old.
Voltron was another one.
You thought it was good. 6-year-old me was like, "What the fuck was I thinking?" I was dumb as a 4-year-old.
No, and it's funny too, because like I've even gone back and like watched He-Man, and He-Man like from the 80s is cheesy.
Oh, it's so bad.
But I don't think it's bad. It's just cheesy. You could tell it's really cheesy. But it's not. But I don't think it's like a poorly developed show for the era. No, Thundercats is just bad.
He-Man was just there to sell toys.
Yeah,
he was. So was She-Ra.
Transformers.
Yeah, and actually, the new She-Ra is actually not bad. Season 1, I should say. Season 1, I haven't watched season 2 yet, but season 1 of the new She-Ra actually isn't that bad.
Yeah.
Well, I thought they were going to destroy She-Ra, and it's actually okay.
Except the real Ghostbusters, that was actually done by Dan Aykroyd too. Continue on. I said the real Ghostbusters, not the original cartoon.
They're coming out with the Ghostbusters.
Another Ghostbusters? Can we not?
Oh, he said a game.
Game.
I don't know if I want another game or another movie right now.
That is the tone of someone who is beaten.
Yes. they have destroyed Ghostbusters for me, dude. Like, I don't want another one. Let's just bow out gracefully.
So we don't end the podcast in that tone. That's a.
I would just like to say. I would just like to say, rest in peace to
the mailbox.
No, name is not Rick Moranis. What the hell is his name?
Harold Ramis.
Harold Ramis, that's the one.
Bushwick Bill.
Rest in peace,
Bushwick
Harold
Bill?
Ramis. I am almost glad you don't have to witness what has happened to a franchise.
Well, Dan Aykroyd has to, and that was his baby.
I know. I can't even.
I feel sorry for him.
Him and Bill Murray have they've tried to make it on their terms, and pretty much, you know what? Let's not get into this. That's just gonna throw me into a rage.
Like
we don't need to hear that.
We don't need a Rogue One ending of this podcast episode.
We don't need a Rogue One. I'm not gonna go full Darth Vader. We're gonna start wrapping things up on here. So, because I know exactly what he's going to say, let's start off the final thoughts with Kev. Yes, Lisa Sue, blah, blah, blah. Get it over with.
Nope, we're not going to praise Lisa Sue. We're not going to praise Phil Spencer. Xbox is the best box.
Fuck off.
Hey, Kev, you know what
Everybody
Lisa Sue said?
Call 911. He's had
Meet
a
me at 7 on the 7th. That's what Lisa Sue said.
Everybody, I regret to inform you that unfortunately Kev has experienced a terrible accident. He was run over 16 times by a vehicle.
It's probably just in long.
That's how you killed me. That's how you killed me. You need to get some new material, Mark.
Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of things to kill people with and make it look like an accident. But somehow running someone over 16 times with a car seems like a perfectly viable accident.
It was accidentally shot in the head.
If you want to find a good way to kill somebody, talk to OJ. OJ will get you off.
Well, no,
if the glove don't fit, you must acquit.
That's right.
With Kev,
everybody knew he did
it. With Kev and modern day, it's actually pretty easy. You just got to say it was law enforcement.
Just give him a
that's
black
toy. Burn on Kev.
You got to be black and there be light outside.
Just give him a toy gun with an orange tip still on it. Clearly the orange tip on it.
No, usually the finger gun while black.
You pull your phone out of your pocket. What are you doing? Kev ran into an accident. He pulled his phone out of his pocket too fast.
Yeah. So in any case,
I didn't even pull my phone out. I grabbed my glasses and they thought it was wet. I'm in the book. He's cleaning his glasses.
Harold and Kumar, the dude had a book. It's a book, man. He's got a weapon.
Xaiphen, final thoughts. Xaiphen has.
I broke Xaiphen.
Yeah, we broke Xaiphen.
I've Xaiphened up Xaiphen, and I'm proud of it.
You know what my final thoughts are? Peace.
That's not fair to the people who listen on audio and can't see.
I should have done that much more smoothly.
No, it worked. Perfect.
It does.
Rose, final thoughts.
Oh my god. Guys are so fucked up.
You knew what you were getting into.
Yeah, I did. Just want to say that fuck you, Square Enix, for making Final Fantasy VII episodic. I'm still gonna buy it because I gotta see.
I'm gonna wait till the whole fucking thing's out and buy it on sale. Fuck you!
It's never gonna all come out because they're just gonna keep making more.
It'll come out over like 4 console generations.
Midgar is just one. Fuck you.
Look,
you,
the only reason to buy the Midgar section is because of Cloud in drag. He is the prettiest girl of the group.
He is. Those shoulders, like I was saying, he's got them skinny. Yeah, he's got them skinny Barbie shoulders, man. That's really where it's at. Tifa, she's got fucking guns, man. So she kind of looks, like she has a little bit more muscle.
Guns. Bang, bang, bang.
She's got 4 guns. Yeah, right. But no, there's. Hey, listen, Cloud was confirmed to be the best looking woman of that group by an objective third party. I'm just saying.
That's third party also in the men.
That's facts. He was, no one said he was into men. He liked little girls, and apparently Cloud was right up his alley.
I mean, if he likes little girls, are we talking like R. Kelly like little girls?
I wouldn't surprise me.
Women that
dude was pretty sleazy. Dude was pretty sleazy. I'm just saying that's very likely he was probably into children. And like I said,
R. Kelly sleazy, Bill Cosby sleazy.
Bill Cosby. I'm kind of saying this guy's Bill Cosby, R. Kelly. Can we think of some other creepy dudes to throw in the
mix? The guy that kidnapped Elizabeth Smart.
That guy from No, we
can't.
the guy from Ars Technica that apparently no one's been talking about, that apparently just got busted in a some kind of like pedophile sting. That guy too.
The guy that offers kittens outside the school, puppies and kittens in the back of his truck.
Yeah, his van that says ice cream, just handwritten on the side.
but it has no music. I've never seen anybody deliver ice cream in a van.
This went to a dark place, guys. So to get our final spiel out there, because we're obviously devolving here. We've been going on for quite a while here. Obviously, we've long since we're not just demonetized. This YouTube's gonna just nuke us. They're gonna nuke the channel from this. In any case, if this is your guys' first time tuning into the podcast, welcome, hello, hi, and stuff. We obviously do a stream every Saturday night at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Although we alternate streams, we have 1 week where we do the podcast as you are watching now, and then on the off week, we get together and play some games and harass each other a whole lot, and that's what we call the party stream. So next week we will be doing Killing Floor 2 on our party stream, which will be delicious, bloody goodness. That game is gory and awesome and amazing. Which is why Xaiphen is not allowed to play that game unless it's past his daughter's bedtime.
Vermintide 2 is
Vermintide 2 is also extremely gory. We seem to be on a certain kick of games that have a
shout out to the community. Can we get like a Tim Sweeney mod? Where all the enemies are like Tim Sweeney and Killing Floor?
Oh, shit. Took that to an even darker turtle. Wow.
Wow. I don't know whether I want that in Vermintide 2 or if I want that in Killing Floor 2. But please, modders, anybody who is a modder that's listening to this, we need a Tim Sweeney mod for one of those games. Yes, where please. they can swarm us and just like maybe make them just repeat one line over again. 30% is too much. 30% is too much. 30% is too much. 30% is just over and over again, and we'll just be like, make it stop.
It doesn't have to be just Tim Sweeney. We can also have some Eat Shit Pie and also
Randy Pitchford.
Randy. Yes. We get Jensen Long in there.
He can be like, fuck the consumer. Fuck the consumer.
Just give me your money. Just give me your money.
Okay, we really got to wrap it up. So in any case, obviously, if you are catching this on a VOD, we do have the VODs up temporarily, at least on Twitch, and then we also have them permanently on YouTube. You can obviously find the links for all that stuff down below. If you don't want to watch the podcast, let's say you want to listen to us go on and ramble like this for 2 hours while you're stuck in traffic. First of all, I'm sorry, I wouldn't want to live that kind of life myself, but if you happen to be that masochistic, go for it. We pretty much upload this podcast to all of the major podcast sources, such as Google Play and Spotify and all of those other ones out there. I don't remember the list. Whatever. If you have
Spotify, that's the important one.
The link.
Yes, they're in the link down below. So, in any case, we're going to get signed off here for the night, guys. We will be good God, I've been talking too much. We will be back next week at 7 p.m. Pacific time. We love you guys. And also, just as a special shout out to Salty Jade for the raid. That was awesome. Thanks a lot for that. We're going to get out of here for the night, guys. We love you, and we'll be back next week. Cheers.
Xbox is the best box.
And Xaiphen wearing act again.
Praise Lisa Sue and Phil Spencer. Ron Howard still tells us
what? I had earlier set up to try and do a fade transition on that. It failed miserably when I tried to transition. It's just like blink, like motherfucker. Oh well.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
Either Kev left.
I'm trying to see if I'm having delay issues on Discord itself, or if that is my headset.